naimba sio wimbo ni maombi, nikiomba Mwenyezi Mungu aibariki Kenya yangu, kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Ewe Kenya inji yangu, ewe Kenya baba yangu, ewe Kenya mama yangu, sitakuacha milele. Akili zangu, nguvu zangu, nimeziweka mbele yako. Bibi yangu na watoto nimewaweka mbele yako. Tabu zangu, shida zangu, ziangalie Kenya yangu. Tabu zangu, shida zangu,
I remember myself watching on television. I went to observe the elections in 2007 for the law side of Kenya. As a lawyer, I was a managing partner of a law firm. I volunteered as lawyers to go to all lawyers volunteered to go to their home districts to go and observe elections. So I went to my home district, Garissa, to observe the elections. And it was peaceful. I mean, it was just the issue of the result transmission, and again, the communication, the way the chairman was talking also. The chairman was used some language that may have also built tension up. But I remember I was worried about the violence that started in Nairobi. So I took my family to Garissa. My wife and my kids were in Garissa. So I decided to come to Nairobi because we had to open the law firm on January. And to the Friday, I was wearing a kanzu. I prayed on Friday in Garissa, and I decided to drive myself to Nairobi. So I was wearing a kanzu and a kofia. And as I passed after Githurai towards the satellite, if you know Nairobi, as I passed there was a long queue jam, and the youth going around the vehicles, asking people questions. And they knocked on my window. I opened the window and they saw me. I was wearing a kanzu. I said, he's a Muslim. So they asked me a question. Wewe ni Muislamu wa Balala ama wa Haji?
My goodness.
I mean, this is not a joke. It happened to me. Wewe ni Muislamu wa Haji ama wa Balala? And you know what that means?
Yes. Yes.
I didn't know at that time I didn't know what it meant. I told them, none of them, me, I'm a Muslim. Okay? And I drove. Luckily they didn't disturb me much. But when I reached, of course, that was the youth all over. But when you came close to the city center, you realize the security presence was now very strong because the security GSU had then ring-fenced the entire CBD. And then you could actually drive safely. So when I reached home, is when now I got a message from which was circulating among Muslims, that they had done a mapping of Nairobi. So they say if you are coming from this side, you say you are a Muslim of this of Balala. If you are coming from this side, and they map the Nairobi, and you are advised. There was an SMS going around. So I didn't know that actually that if you are a Muslim of Haji, you are a PNU Muslim. And if you are a Muslim of Balala, you are ODM Muslim. That's bad to that bad. But so it is still something which we have to get away from. Tribalism is still in our mind. And how do we avoid violence? Although even in Nairobi it was physical violence, but if you look at if you read the social media, it's just that they're not beating each other physically, but sometimes what you read is worse than what happened in Nairobi or elsewhere else, because it's also very clear that again we have not yet forgotten. We still have not learned our lessons. I think even you in the diaspora have to also embrace nationalism, the spirit of Kenyanism. But my answer to you is that the way we manage the elections, really, is going to affect how people are going to react to the elections. I mean, one, we have introduced, as you said, electronic transmission of results. For the first time in Kenya, you are able, even you in the diaspora, you can follow. If you are following Kitutu Church by elections, you could follow it live on the website. If you just log into our website, it was streaming live. It was streaming live, and you could see Nyabati won by 8:30 p.m. And nobody, and in fact,
That's
all the
Kitutu Masaba.
yes, yeah, Tusaba. And all the candidates actually, all the candidates considered defeat before the time of Sir officially announced the winner. This is that's the only one. In Kamkunji, by the time before 9 o'clock, the team leader of ODM, Bishop Mange Gonjiro, actually called a press conference and considered defeat. And the loser went and congratulated the winner. The same thing happened in South Mugarango. It was very violent. ODM and Penny were at each other's neck, but somebody else came in between them, Samson Yamoya, and stole the show. And they all have to concede defeat and give him congratulations. Again, because of electronic transmission of results, what happened is that this thing called transmission of results, which we have now made it part and parcel of the process of elections, is that once you announce results at a polling station, if this is one, for example, the presiding officer must send the results immediately in the presence of the agents to the tallying center of the constituency and to the national center in Nairobi, simultaneously, in real time, and also it goes to the website of the commission. So there's no time to cook in between. So this thing has already gone. You cannot cook and one guy transmit the results. So, and people are able to see, they watch it. They watch the graph go up. And by the time the results are announced, they've already accepted. Look at what happened in the referendum. The referendum, the no team conceded defeat 6 hours before we announced the official results. Again, because of the same thing. So we are beginning to see a trend which we want to encourage and make it part and parcel of our process. That actually people accept the results and concede defeat. And the only way we can do that is by transparency and accountability, and the way we manage the election. Of course, our previous return of SARS were people who were hired on a casual basis, on contract of 3 months. You are a teacher, a headmaster, a DO, you are called for just 2 months, you are given a contract, you are told you are the return officer for Kamukunji and do these elections. After you need to go back to your work. It was, and then you could easily, some of them could have been manipulated. But this time round, we have got full-time employees of the commission who are accountable to the commission. And more importantly, the law now is very clear. If a commissioner, a chairman or a commissioner, or a member of staff of the commission, or a returning officer manipulates the results deliberately or willfully, he is going to go to jail for 3 years?
10.
No, sorry, 10 years.
I mean, not
For 10 years,
No, sorry, it is
10 million.
it's 3 years
3 years.
and 10 million shillings fine.
And prohibited.
And then you are prohibited for having public service
For
for
10
10 years. So if I manipulate results, I rig the elections, I will go to jail for 3 years or a fine of 10 million shillings, and I will never hold a public office for 10 years. It's that serious. The threshold is very high. And therefore, I don't think we are going to have a repeat. In any case, Kenyans have learned their lessons. Even the Kenyan electorate themselves have also learned a lesson. People are still in IDPs. People are still very poor. There are still a lot of angry youth who are unemployed, who feel they have been used and betrayed and dumped. So Kenyans have become much more smart than they were in 2007. I don't think we will go to that scale anymore. We sank very low. We went to the precipice, but I don't think we'll get back there. And I pray to God that we don't do that. Now, funding for civic education. Civic education is very important, both even for the diaspora, because the way you are talking, you also require civic education. Yes, you're diaspora, yes. You're educated, yes. But you also need to understand the electoral process. You also must understand what is at stake. So yes, I agree with you. If we can use the media, which my brother talked about, it's something very important. And I think in Kenya we use the entire media when you do voter education, both national and the community stations. All of them were used. And this was based on scientific survey. We know the readership of citizen, the listenership of citizen television. We have a data from government, which not government, it's another body, Media Council.
Media. Synovate.
Synovate and Media Council. I've already established, and they will tell you this television station, this is the way they have run them, and this is the listenership. So, if we are able to do similar mapping for the diaspora, and we know which media have got the listenership and the power to convey information, of course, Immaculate here will be able to alliance with them and be able to tell you what information we need to disseminate to the diaspora and even on the social media. And number two, we also have a basket fund which is supported by UNDP. Government doesn't pay for water education. That's the sad part. But the good thing is that we have been able to persuade UNDP and other development partners to fund us conduct water education. And we have sufficient money to conduct water education. I think we can take money from that and use it. And talking about funding, the budget of the commission, I can say with pride that Kenya is one of the countries that can conduct its own elections without funding from development partners. I was very sad last year when I was told by the chairman of the Burundi Electoral Commission that they could not conduct the elections in time because they were waiting for 60% of the budget was going to come from development partners. 60% of the election budget was coming from donors. So they had to wait they couldn't even fix a date for elections until they had the money in the bank. Here in Kenya, we have only 10% coming from donors. 90% of our funds are supported by government. We only got 20% from last year from support, but they don't have ID cards. Whether this is by default or by design, we don't know. Why the government is not giving identity cards, and Kigla mentioned it in his report, people, the youth, women, and marginalized communities are the worst affected. And this is something which is still ongoing. We hear about third generation ID card, which has been a ping pong game between Treasury and OP and immigration. I hope that one day will come when we are going to have one integrated card, which you can all use for all our transactions, the way you use the social security card. So that you can use your card as a voter's card, it can become your ID card, it can become anything, your license card. That's what we are aiming for. But in terms of ID cards, I will be frank with you, there's a very serious problem in that area. And there's a lot of Kenyans who are still disenfranchised because of this issue. We hope the government and the Ministry of Immigration will do something about it before the general elections. For a member of parliament to contest, for a foreigner to contest, a Kenyan in the diaspora to contest, you must be a Kenyan citizen. You must have lived in the country for 10 years. That is the law. So for you to be able to, even if you are a diaspora and you are intending to contest for elections, you have to prove that you lived in Kenya for 10 years. So, continuous or in aggregate together. So the qualifications for member of parliament will apply to you also. And I don't think this is the only thing which you are not allowed to be, I think, is a president. You cannot contest for presidency if you have dual nationality. You cannot have a president who owes allegiance to another country and also owes allegiance to our state. So I think the only issue is that level. There are very limited seats which you are disqualified from contesting. Otherwise, you can even become judges. You can even become commissioners in commissions. We have we have a judge from diaspora
Diaspora.
who was just sworn in last month. You know that.
Yeah.
There are commissions who have applied for commissions from diaspora. So diaspora are, I mean, Kenyans living abroad are Kenyans. The only thing that for member of parliament, you must also satisfy the qualifications which are in the constitution. Now, let us be truthful. I think my sister there was saying, let's be honest and truthful about the issue of diaspora voting. So the Kenyans living in the abroad voting. And whether we can actually achieve this thing now or not. Like I said, we are required to do this by the Constitution. But luckily for us, the Constitution has understood that it's a very difficult task to complete in time. So it says progressive. That's a good word. Unlike the one-third gender rule, which requires that all members of Parliament, the Senate and the MPs, the House of National Assembly must have one-third women, which is a principle. This one says progressive. Therefore, which means therefore that we can do what we're able to do within our means. And this we can do, I'll tell you. For a start, and this is something which I want us to think carefully about. For a start, you can agree. I know you talk about a mobile voter registration or a caravan. It can be done. But let's agree for a start that we use what our other African countries have done. Unlike South Sudan was coming from a conflict situation, and they were able to outsource the exercise to IOM and UN. But we are a sovereign state in a stable country. We can use what South Africa is doing, what Namibia is doing, what other countries are doing like us, which is basically use the missions and the high commissions and embassies as their voter registration centers and also as their polling stations. For a start, we'll come to the other issue about trying to go and visit other centers, expanding but as you said, to be realistic and to be truthful, this is what they're going to do. We will just start gradually. Lay the foundation. Let's begin with the embassy. Let me gazette Electoral as the registration officer for the constituency called the United States of America, USA. Let him be the voter registration officer, and then you all come and register for the zones that you mentioned the zones. We can say the zones that fall within Washington DC area, you can come here. Those who are in New York, we can gazette the ambassador or the herald bishop in New York as the person in charge of voter registration. Of course, he will delegate to his officers, but in terms of law, we gazette, because even when we're doing the personal voting, we actually gazetted the officers in charge of each person as the people in charge of voter registration. So we can do the same thing. We can ask ambassadors to be voter registration officers in charge. In LA, we have a consulate. So in the United States, we can have those 3 points for a start. Even if we get 100,000 or 20,000, good enough. It's a progressive. It's a foundation. And then you come and vote there again. When it comes to voting, you come back. We again gazette the same people as returning officers. They are going to wear 2 hats. The first hat is the hat of voter registration. They remove it, they become now returning officers. And that time, they are actually going to be coming under the Electoral Commission. That is then I can control the ambassadors. Because they will be answerable to the Electoral Commission, and they will have to sign the code of conduct for which all of us are going to sign. So let's be realistic. I agree with you, my sister. I think that's the most reasonable thing we can do, and let us work on that. And then, as we go to 2017, now what my brother said is what we can now achieve. Let's go now e-voting. Let's now try and use ICT to now make the Kenyan, to expand the database, to expand the space for diaspora to vote. I think the challenge that we are going to face, the challenge we are facing is time. The country is facing a lot of challenges. Apart from the the problem we had already of poverty, unemployment, literacy, and unresolved issues of the post-election violence, which are still unresolved, because the National Accord was a ceasefire. It was just a ceasefire which just helped political players share power and move on. But really, we have not resolved the historical problem which was the problem. We still have IDPs in camps. So we have, and then on top of that, we have people who have been charged in the Hague. Again, there could be political ramifications, social ramifications within the political electoral process. How it's going to impact on the electoral process, it is a matter of speculation. We can't predict how it's going to be. We have a war going on in the country. The country is engaged in fighting terrorists who are trying to undermine our sovereignty. We have got so much going on in the country. So these are challenges that are going on, and we want to conduct a very massive elections next year. So these are the challenges that we are facing. It's time, resource constraints, and the context in which we are operating. Of course, the other thing is that Kenya's expectation is too high. There's so much expectation from the Commission. And I'm glad that, Ambassador, you had people saying that it's all of us, it's a national responsibility. You cannot just say, IEBC must deliver this. Everybody has a role to play. And Justice Kriegler, when he came back from South Africa yesterday, and he came, the first thing he said is, I want to meet with IEBC. He was the chief guest in yesterday's thematic area on elections. But in the evening, he said, first I want to talk to the Commission, and I want to get an update on how far they have gone in terms of electoral reforms. We gave him a brief, and we told him about the new law, where we are, what they expect to do, and he shook his head because he was a former chairman of the South African Electoral Commission after the apartheid era. And he said, I can only give you my condolences. Those were his words. I can only give you my condolences. And he told people in the plenary that the timetable that is before this commission, it would require a miracle for them to deliver, unless all the political actors support the commission, including the voters, political parties, the government, the media, and civil society. So it's a collective effort which all of us have to do. That's the challenge. Of course, the legacy that we want to leave is that we want to get the ghost, we want to exercise ourselves, the ghost of 2007. Kenya has been played as a poster child together with Zimbabwe and Nigeria as having conducted bad elections. We go to a conference and you find every so-called election expert is carrying a Form 16 on his laptop, on his PowerPoint presentation. It's a case study on Kenya, and the PowerPoint presentation is Form 16, and it's Kenya. And we want to get out of that. We want to say, we want to acquit ourselves and deliver a credible, transparent, free and fair elections. Already we have done good so far. We want to build on the foundation that we have done, because what we have done is good. We are having countries coming to study how we are doing our result reporting. Because how you report the results is very key. It can lead to violence or not. And we had Botswana, we had Nigeria, we had Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia came. In fact, we hosted 7 electoral commissions just to come and study our system of result reporting. And it has become now a case study in Africa, for Africa. So we are not that badly off. We are moving towards holding a good elections. And I think I have a lot of faith in the Secretariat. You mentioned about the Secretariat. The Constitution and the Act transits the IIC Secretariat, which we established, into the new commission as IABC, subject of course to certain legal requirements of the law. But basically we have a very professional secretariat. I mean, Immaculate is a lady who worked in elections for a long time and has a good experience. We have Desima, who is a good researcher. He's very quiet here, but You don't know that what we are saying here, what he was presenting there, you don't know where it came from.
I know.
These are the brains behind that. The researcher, people who go down and do the work that help us inform our nation. So
Wimbo ninaimba sio wimbo ni maombi, nikiomba Mwenyezi Mungu aibariki Kenya yangu, kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Ewe Kenya inji yangu, ewe Kenya baba yangu, ewe Kenya mama yangu, sitakuacha milele.